Mr. President, Senator Klobuchar and I are here to talk about National Adoption Month. I think we're started a little bit late, so by unanimous consent, I'd ask that we be allowed to extend our closing time by that same number of minutes. Mr. President, it's good for both of us and our colleagues to be thinking this month about Adoption Month, to recognize the celebration of National Adoption Day, which will occur this Saturday. I have the real privilege of serving as co-chair of the Coalition on Adoption with Senator Klobuchar from Minnesota. It's an opportunity for not only for us to work together in a bipartisan way, but an event we were at just the other day, I was told that the Adoption Caucus, House and Senate, is the biggest caucus of either body and the biggest caucus of the Congress. And of course it should be. It's built on the idea that kids have the need of a family, and that there are families out there that want to adopt kids, and whether that's nationally, domestically, or internationally, we really work hard to try to make that more possible. Our House co-chairs have been great to work with. Senator Klobuchar and I are working on several pieces of legislation right now to make it easier for families to adopt and to make sure adoptive families have the support they need to stay strong. One piece of legislation we're working on is the adoption tax credit refundability. It's a little bit outside the norm of the discussion of simplifying the tax code, but I was pleased the other day to have some important evidence put on the table when the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, who, by the way, is an adopted father of 2 sons and an advocate for adoption and for kids, when this was not in the House bill, when the current adoption tax credit wasn't the House bill, he said, well, one of the reasons it's not there is so many families that adopt kids don't pay income tax because of the low level of their income. And my thought was, well, that's exactly what Senator Klobuchar and I have been saying. That should be a refundable credit as well as a credit. But I'm glad to see the current credit back in the tax bill that the Ways and Means, that the Finance Committee is looking at now. But we want to continue to look at not only the current credit, but expanding that. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, 1/3 of all adopted children live in families with annual household income at or below 200% of the poverty level. Because of that, the tax burden is low. They don't pay income taxes, and the adoption tax credit isn't as helpful to those families as it is families that actually have income tax to credit it against. More than 400,000 children now in the United States are also in the foster care system, and more than 100,000 of those 400,000 kids are ready and waiting for families that they can call their own. Lots of other children need to be in families all over the world, but we can be looking carefully at the children in our system now. We both looked, and others have joined us in that, of looking at the foster care system, of ensuring that a behavioral health screening happens within 30 days of getting into that system, because once you get into that foster care system, often it's because of unavoidable challenges that families face, and often it's because of challenges that kids should never have to face, so that early evaluation of what is going on there can really make a difference in how foster kids are dealt with in the system and how they get ready, as 100,000 of them now are, to leave the foster care system and be adopted. Before I turn to Senator Klobuchar, I just want to mention some kids right now that are on the Missouri Heart Gallery, it's called. More than 1,200 Missouri children are in need of permanent homes. Missouri Heart Gallery is a place to look as we approach the end of this year and see what the story of some of these kids. Brandon, for instance, who's 12, loves to play games. Lego sets are his favorite toy. He likes to smile and give hugs, and probably hasn't gotten enough hugs in his life up till now, but it is possible to try your best to catch up with kids that need hugs. He needs a stable and loving family. He's often playing outside. It'd be wonderful if he was playing outside a house that he knew or home that he knew was the permanent home for him. Shania and Shanae are sisters who hope to be placed together, and they hope to have the chance to maintain contact with their aunt following placement. Shania loves dancing and cheerleading. Her favorite color is green. She hopes to be a scientist one day. Shanae's favorite hobby is singing, and she makes friends really easily between her dancing and singing skills that she shares with her sister. Both of these girls would really bring a lot of life and vitality into what you would hope would be their family forever. Brandon, Shania, Shanae are in need of permanent, loving homes. And this is a time when we ought to be thinking not only about the obstacles to adoption, the things that encourage adoption, but also how we can make the support system for both adoption and foster care and adoption out of foster care work better. So I know my colleagues will be eager to join Senator Klobuchar and me in marking November as National Adoption Month, and by passing our resolution today. And I'd turn to my friend from Minnesota, Senator Klobuchar.
Mr. President.
The Senator from Minnesota.
Mr. President, I first of all like to thank Senator Blunt for his leadership, and we have worked side by side on these issues for so many years. And I am really pleased, as he noted, that there's been a lot of focus on this issue of the adoption tax credit, and not only how it needs to be fixed in any tax bill and make sure that it is maintained, but in fact it should be expanded on, and I thank him. We've both been advocating for that. So my state, one of the reasons I'm so involved in this issue is that we have historically had a lot of adoption in Minnesota. With international adoptions, we have one of the highest rates of international adoptions in the country. We have families that have opened their hearts to kids from Vietnam to Guatemala to Nepal to Haiti. And I had the opportunity to witness the power of adoption firsthand when I served for 8 years as the Hennepin County Attorney, which is the largest prosecutor's office in our state. And we also have civil jurisdiction. So one of the things that I worked on was speeding up the amount of time it took for foster kids to get out and into permanent homes. And I was able to see firsthand those loving parents who would do anything to bring these kids into their families. And when you see it internationally, it just breaks your heart if that goes on for years and years and years. Right now, domestically, over 425,000 children are living without permanent families in our foster care system. Over 110,000 of these kids are eligible for adoption. So one of the reasons that Senator Blunt and I come together today is to make people know that, yes, there is international adoption, so important, but there are also kids right here in America that would love to be taken in by a family, and that's part of the theme of our adoption month for the country. We've tackled a number of issues over the last few years, along with former Senator Landrieu of Louisiana. One of them was the International Adoption Simplification Act, which was a big help in terms of making sure that older children weren't left behind when the younger siblings were adopted. And I worked on that bill with Senator Inhofe. And then Senator Blunt and Landrieu and I introduced the Accuracy for Adoptees Act, which helped greatly to ensure that families don't have to fight with foreign authorities to get their kids' documents changed. And we're also working on, of course, some of the international issues now because of the slowdown in international adoptions and the work that we can do there. And we look forward to working with the State Department and other agencies on that. one of the things that is the best part of our jobs is when you help a family in your home state with an adoption. A recent one we had where I got to visit the family in the western suburbs of Minnesota was they had for years been waiting to adopt two Ethiopian boys actually, and we worked really hard on this because the halt to the adoptions out of Ethiopia affected more than 200 American families. Well, one of them was Dave and Katie Norton. Because of the work that was done and the push that was made, a number of these kids came home to their families, and I got to swing on a tire swing, Senator Blunt, with these two rather fun boys who like every day to put on their bicycle helmets just because they think it's cool, and they wear them around the backyard. And we had a great time with them and their other children, and it makes you realize how close to home this is and how pleased we are to welcome these kids to American families. So with that, that's what National Adoption Month is all about. We want more kids to be able to swing on those tire swings, and so we will continue to work both with the foster care system as well as the international adoption system to make this a reality for more and more orphans across the world. Thank you, Senator Blunt, for your leadership, and we look forward to working on this issue for many years to come.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Senator Klobuchar and I will continue to work on this. We're glad that it's so well received. These issues are issues that our colleagues pay close attention to, and whether it's domestic or international, we're going to continue to find ways to open the doors of more houses and to get access to more tire swings. So look forward to that work.